Good morning and welcome to the Interreg Europe webinar series dedicated to project development. Today is Thursday, it's our last webinar of this week, and we are talking today about communication. My name is Irma, I will be your host for today, and let's have a look together what is on our agenda for this webinar. During this webinar that will last maximum 1 hour and a half, we will be watching several videos related to project communication. We will talk about the key elements, the principles and activities you need to plan in your project application. In between of the videos, there will be a live Q&A sessions. And it's my colleague Petra, together with me today in the studio, to answer your questions live. Good morning, Petra.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Irma.
Why, Petra, is it important to talk about the project communication already at this stage when we are planning the project?
Well, I think that communication is always important. And when you think about your projects, you have a specific set of objectives you want to reach. But without proper communication, without proper strategy, how to tell people about it, it might be very, very difficult to actually make your objectives happen. So communication and planning, how to talk to people, inform them about what you do is certainly one important element in the whole project approach so that you improve policies in your regions. So communication is important.
Right. Thank you for outlining what is the value of communication and why it is important. As today's webinar is our last webinar of the series, I would be really curious to know how advanced our webinar participants are with their project applications. And here now you can see on the screen window where you can answer the question. The question is, how advanced are you with the project applications? And we have 4 answers possible. Our project proposal is almost ready. We still plan to ask your feedback on project idea. The third option is we are not advanced, but we still have many points to complete. And the fourth option is I'm not planning to take part in a second call project proposals. Indeed, our second call for project proposals closes on the 9th of June. So by this deadline, by this date, you need to finish your project application and to submit it via our portal. So I think we can see that the ones who wanted to answer the question already answered. So let's have a look to the results. And we can see that 10% of respondents say that the project proposal is almost ready. Congratulations for those. And we hope that this week gave you additional ideas on what you need to pay attention to finalize it. 23% say we still plan to ask you for feedback on project idea proposal. 48 say not advanced at all, still have points to complete. And 21 say I'm not planning to take part in the second call for project proposals. Talking about the ones who are not advanced at all, and there are still many points to complete. Almost half of respondents say this. Petra, is there any advice you want to give for this group of people?
There are plenty of tools that we prepared for you on the communication side, how to actually learn what you could do. So if you still need to finish many points in your project application, don't hesitate to come to our website and find out more about the tools. And Irma, when we finish this webinar today, will guide you through them step by step. And if you're not planning to join the second call, there might be a third call. We are hoping that we will have a third call. So you might consider maybe developing your project idea in the future, and you will again find us in the communication to providing you with various assistance tools to make your way to a successful project easier and easier to fulfill.
Right, indeed, there is still some time left. So indeed, if you are planning to submit a call, you should use all the assistance we are providing, and indeed hurry up, not to delay, I think, to fill your project application till the very, very last minute. And here you can see now on the screen, as we are talking today about communication. I mean, this is the topic for today. You can see on the screen how you can ask questions today. To ask questions during today's webinar, you go to the slido.com, you put a hashtag project development, and the screen will open, and this is where you should submit your questions related to today's webinar. During today's webinar, Petra is live together with me in the studio. We also have other colleagues that support us to answer the questions. Julie, Mia from communication team, and Josephine are there and will answer your questions in written. We also have two colleagues from other teams. It's Kristaps from the project team and Ilaria from the finance team are here to support us. However, pay attention that today's day is reserved exclusively for communication related questions. And in case you have questions on the other topics, a little bit later during today, we will tell you what you can do and where you can ask then those questions. Okay, I think with this information, we are almost ready to start the first video. And before we do this, there is one more important piece of information to tell you. It's about the recording of today's webinar. So today's webinar is recorded, and a recording of today, as well as the previous webinars we organized, will be published on our website next week. Also, the videos you are watching today are already published on our website, and you can rewatch all this content we are sharing with you anytime. We will be also sharing with you presentations that are used in the videos. So I think now with this information, we are ready to start, and let's watch the first video about the key elements of communication. This first video will last about 10 minutes, and immediately after we will be back in the studio together with Petra to answer your questions live.
Hello, my name is Petra. And in this video, I will tell you more about preparation of the project's communication. First, let's talk about the elements of communication strategy. The first question comes: why should you communicate? In your project, you want to reach policy changes, and communication is a very useful tool how you can do it. So think about communication as a tool for reaching your project objectives. If communication is a useful tool for reaching your project objectives, let's first have a look what is a project objective. So, project objective should be a specific result that you in your project want to reach with your project partners, and you want to reach it within a given time frame, with a given time, with available resources. When people think about objectives, very often they use abbreviations like SMART or FAST. What does it mean? SMART is an abbreviation for an objective which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. When you think about your project objectives, maybe you want to look at the abbreviation FAST instead of SMART. What does it mean? FAST goes one step further. The F stands for something that is frequently discussed, either in your region or in your organization. The A stands for ambitious. So are you just trying to meet the usual, or you want to go one step further? The S stands for specific, which is basically just the description of SMART. And the T, in this case, is transparent. And here we again come to communication, because through transparent, you show what you are actually doing and what you are achieving. We can now have a look at an example of a project objective. So, for example, in a project that looks at SME competitiveness, there objective might be to increase business creation among young people in the participating regions by 10 startups per region on average by 2027 through modification of policy instruments in each region addressing that specific issue, meaning the business creation. When it comes to communication objective, they are different. Here you need to think about the people you need to talk to. What do you want to do with them so that they change their behavior and help you reach your project objectives? You might want to think about informing them, but you might want to persuade them to do something or even engage them directly in your project activities so that you reach your desired policy change. Again, if we translate our project objective into the communication, what do you want to reach with our youth entrepreneurs? So your goal, communication goal, might be to persuade policymakers that business creation among young people is still a valid point on the policy agenda. Now, what might be some of your desired behaviors? What might be some of the changes you want to do through communication? You might want to see those policymakers supporting the change that you want to achieve, or their behavior might be that they sign the action plans where they express their willingness to change the policy. So the desired result of your communication might be that by a certain date you will have 5 action plans signed or policy changes made. Now, let's have a look at another important element of a communication strategy, which is the target groups. Who are the target groups? Those are all the important people which have some kind of influence over the policy that you want to change. So think of the policy decision makers, think about the influencers who have an influence, not necessarily making the decisions, but influencing your policy. And also don't forget about the policy end users. So how do you prepare a target group specifically for your project's communication? So the first step is to list all those relevant people. Think about the local policymakers, think about the public servants who are preparing the materials for them. If you are working in the field of SMEs, maybe chambers of commerce should be informed and even engaged in your activities. If you are working more in the field of environment, think about all the different interest groups and environmental organizations. Once you go through the list of all the relevant people and institutions, the second step is their analysis. And for this, you might think about using this graph, where you think about those organizations in terms of their influence on the topic and their interest in their topic. Of course, for you in your project, the key target group are those people and organizations with the highest influence and the highest interest in that specific topic. You see, that's the key group for you that you need to keep informed, that you need to persuade to be on your side and even engage them, maybe as the ambassadors of your project, and then the final decision makers about the changes. Who are the others? At the opposite of this key group are people with low influence and low interest. These people might be from the general public, maybe some of the end users of this policy change. So keep an eye on them, but do not waste too many resources in that field. It's much more important to look at people with very high influence on that specific policy field, but maybe not that much of an interest. In this respect, try to inform them as much as possible and maybe bring them on board and increase their interest in your specific policy topic. The last group in this analysis is a group with very high interest but not that much of an influence over that specific topic. These people can be very useful for you, so keep them informed and engaged in your activities. Once you have all these target groups listed and well analyzed, it's time to think about the different tools and channels that you will have to use to pass the information about your project to them. Here, this table might be helpful. First, you can list all these organizations and people, the adjusted messages, because messages need to be adjusted to different target groups. You can list them here and think about the different tools and channels that work the best for them. So for example, again, if I go back to our example of youth entrepreneurs, there are young people, entrepreneurs, so using social media might be very important for them. If you think more about the local politicians or public servants, they might not be big fans of social media, but short briefs, bullet points, face-to-face meetings with them might be the best working channel to pass the information to that target group. So think specifically about the different groups and which channels will work the best and will be the most effective. Then in this table you have other two columns which will be very useful for you when building and preparing a work plan for your project communication. Meaning you need to think about time, when a specific activity, when a specific channel should be used, and the last and very, very important, who will be responsible for that specific channel, target group or activity. Once you have this table filled in, you need to describe for us how you will actually implement your communication. In this respect, keep in mind 3 points. Share your communication in the partnership. So tell us which activities will be done by which partner, whether one of them will be responsible for the overall coordination of communication, whether you will hire an external expert to do the communication for you. Just we need to know how you are planning to implement the communication in your project. The third point that I haven't mentioned yet is that you need to think about your internal communication, how you will keep in touch with all the partners in your project. Another important part of your project is evaluation. At the start, you set certain objectives and you need to check the progress toward reaching these objectives. I have good news because our program this time doesn't have any prescribed set indicators. Still, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have any. You should set your own internal set of indicators that will help you assess your progress. And we will ask about it. When your project will get to midterm review, we will be asking, how is your communication doing? We have an example of some indicators that you might consider. So, for example, for your events, you can think about checking the number of registered people, but also the participants. You can check whether people are coming from the desired target groups. Apart from that, you might be interested in checking their satisfaction or whether the information you provide at your events are informative and valuable to your participants. When it comes to some other communication activities, for example, social media, you might again check how many followers you have. But on the other hand, you might be interested more in their engagement, in their likes and shares of some of your posts. The similar it is for the videos, and we will be asking you to have some videos. Again, you need to check how many people looked at it and, for example, how long they stayed with your video. Was it just 2 seconds at the very start, or have they watched the whole video you prepared? If you decide to have a newsletter, similarly, you check how many subscribers you have, but on the other hand, you can also check how many people click on your links, how many open it. On a side point, our program does not provide a newsletter for you, but you can set it your own. We will have a website for your project, and there we will be providing you with a standard set of performance indicators. So there you don't have to worry, we will be sending it to you directly. Now let's have a look where all the different communication strategy elements go in the application. So in section 6, communication strategy, you have 4 fields to fill in the key elements of your communication strategy. First field is for your overall objectives. In the second, you describe your target groups. In the third field, you talk about the tools and channels you will use for your communication. And in the final field, you need to describe your approach to communication implementation and evaluation. In section E, in the work plan, you should distinguish a little bit between the core phase and the follow-up phase. In the core phase, in each semester, you should focus on informing and engaging your target groups. Here, you can find very useful the table that we were filling in previously, with all the different target groups, messages, and the timing of your different communication activities. In this section, you should turn all the planned activities into a specific work plan. You can think of including 2 activities. For example, in this core phase, you can include the first video that should present your project and your goals, and you can also include the project presentation. In section E2, you have 2 additional semesters for the follow-up phase. In this place, your focus on communication activities will change, because that will be the time when your project will already have some results. Also, this will be the time for the high-level dissemination event, so remember to plan it. So as an example, this is the time to plan your video number 2 that will present the achievements of your projects. Also remember to update the presentation with your project results. So now, when you know all about the elements of communication strategy, I invite you to have a look at our other videos about communication activities and communication principles.
Welcome back. Exactly as Petra was saying, we will be watching other videos a little bit later today. And after the first video now, you know indeed what you need to think about when planning your communication activities in the application form. You need to think about the target group, to plan the tools, to think about the channels, and you also learned in the video where to fill in this information in the application form. Petra, for our participants, we prepared one question because it's true, all the activities need to be planned, but we want to ask you, what do you think? Who should be in charge of those communication activities? Who should participate in project's communication? And there are 3 answers we propose to you. It's the lead partner's role only. An external expert or advisory partner should do it alone. Ideally, all partners should contribute. Which answer do you think is correct, or which of the answers will be correct for your future project? Okay, I think we can check the results to see what we got. And we can see that no one believes that it's an external expert or advisory partner should do it alone. 2% think that it's the lead partner's role only. And but most of our webinar participants think that ideally all partners should contribute. Petra, is the majority, the 98% of people, are they right?
I wouldn't say it's right or wrong, but we are very happy that majority of you thinks that communication is a shared task, and we would expect that all our projects share this very important task with each other, that it's the partners who contribute to designing the different communication tools, materials, and what they want to share. So we are very happy to see this result. So thank you for thinking about communication as something that is shared in the partnership and produced jointly, and there is a co-working atmosphere about communication. That's good.
we just talked who should participate in projects communication activities, and I can see that there's a related question on Slido, and we are asked at this stage now, when we are defining the communication objectives and strategy. So who is responsible for defining the communication objectives and strategy? Is it the lead partner, or can partners have different strategies?
In our view, we think that just as implementing the communication is a shared task, and majority of you, of those who responded to our poll, share that that opinion, we also think that developing the strategy is a shared task. Of course, the lead partner, the lead applicant, is the one managing and coordinating the discussions about it, but we think that all partners should contribute to this in defining whom to reach, what channels to use. There might be some differences in different regions, but after all, most of you as partners should come from the policy responsible institutions. So you have similar experience, which channels, which communication tools work for you as the workers in these, as employees in these institutions. So you can discuss with each other what will be the most effective way of communicating the information about the project, communicating the results, communicating the lessons learned, persuading or engaging all those different people who will be important for reaching your project's results. So in our opinion, it should really be, again, a joint task to develop this strategy. And when it comes to different strategies for partners, as you are all working on a similar topic, we think that even the overall project strategy should have common outlines. Then if you decide that maybe in one region or the other region, you want to maybe test a different approach to engage someone, maybe it's possible, but the overall strategy contributing to the project success should be joined for the whole partnership.
In the video, we were talking about the stakeholder analysis, and there is one question related to that. How do stakeholder analysis and lead the comms centrally if there are many different countries and regions involved in the project?
Thank you for this question. The stakeholder analysis is certainly a very important one. I will just make a little distinction between the stakeholders and the target groups. If you participated in any of the previous webinars we had this week, you probably heard about stakeholder groups, that each of you as a partner will be organizing stakeholder meetings. Those are usually very kind of meetings focused on passing the learning from the project, engaging the very key stakeholders in the activities of the project, which is slightly different from the target group of communication. Target group of your communication might be much larger, depending on the objective of your project. And here, I would say that even though there are different countries, there are different regions involved, again, what unites you is the topic. The specific topic you're working on, the specific improvements you want to bring, the learning between the different regions that you are working on. So even though there are differences in different regions, in different countries, the kinds of target groups you are very likely to have similar. So as in the video, when I was talking about the entrepreneurship, there are chambers of commerce in different regions, in different countries. So yes, the name of that specific institution might be different, but the people you need to talk to, the target group you need to inform or persuade might be very similar. So I would say, again, this analysis is a joint thing. Of course, you will look at the different regional situation, but in the end, kind of the kinds of target groups will be similar.
Petra, we received several questions related to the tools, the channels to be used. And we'll take first the most popular question that got even 4 votes. And it sounds as following. What social media channels can a project pick from to communicate on? For example, in our last project, we couldn't really reach many people on Twitter with tweets, even with hashtags, photos, links.
Well, thank you again for this question. We, and together with the European Commission, find social media as a useful channel. But what is important, first and foremost, think about your project objectives, about your project needs, about the specific constellation of your project. Consider also the ease and availability of people who will be contributing to your communication and whether social media channels are the most efficient to pass the messages. There are plenty of social media. We here in the program are using LinkedIn, we are using Facebook, we are using Twitter, we are present on Instagram, and we put our videos, just like this recording, we will, on a YouTube channel. So there is quite a broad range of different social media, and I haven't named all because there are many more that exist today. So think about which of these channels might be the most efficient, the most useful. Again, share this experience that you share here with us, that maybe Twitter wasn't the most effective tool for you. Maybe other partners will share their experience that their Facebook contributed to communicating much better. Maybe it was LinkedIn. And then I would advise focus your attention of one of these channels in which you feel the most comfortable, in which you have already maybe some previous experience and you see that it's working for your institution or for the topic you are dealing with, and then focus your resources there. Because using social media is only one of the activities, is only one of the channels we would expect to use. So among all those different activities that you will be doing on the communication side, the social media shouldn't take a huge part, but we'll be happy to see you there. Focus on the one that works the best for you, share experience with your other partners, decide together jointly which you want to use and where you want to put your resources. So don't overdo it, don't complicate it too much, don't try to be all over the place on social media, and rather think about kind of a good mix of the different channels, not only social media. So I hope I answered the question, this way.
We have another question related to sustainability. How to ensure a project's communication has long-term value and is sustainable, like websites, social media channels, etc.
Thank you, Bailey. This is a very important question, and I'm very happy you are asking about sustainability and long-term value. I would say that our program holds sustainability very dear. And this is actually one of the reasons why we decided to host the websites of projects on the program website. We know that the existence of each project is rather limited. It's only 4 years. But we as a program would like to make the life of the information, of the learning, be much longer and accessible to people. So having your website with all the different findings, with all the different videos that you'll be producing, with all the different leaflets or policy briefs that you'll be developing together with your partners, we want them in one place where people can access them, because our program does exist a bit longer. We can also use them later on for other publications. So we are trying to make your learning accessible as long as possible. We also have a policy learning platform that is working with the outcomes of your projects and turning them yet into other communication tools. So this is another part. So that's more about kind of the outputs of your project's work. When it comes then to other sustainability elements, in the previous webinar, there were some questions about whether online meetings or in-person meetings. This is again, we're thinking about sustainability, thinking about kind of green approach to communication. Always think what works the best, whether meeting in person, whether having a communication activity that is online or communication activity that is in person, meeting actual people, passing the information directly, what is the most effective? And thinking about the added value of doing something in person compared to online. And then with social media channels are kind of a short life animals, in my opinion, but they might be a good add-on to other communication that you have. So for informing people that something's happening, for example, on the project websites, informing them that an event is coming. But the long-term existence of these channels is probably not expected so much. It's really just one of the information channels that exists.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, Petra, for explaining this. There is a question asking if the project website will be provided by the program, and I hope that now with the answer of Petra, you know that you understood it right, and the website will be provided by the program. And while Petra was talking, I could see many applause. I think many people appreciate that you don't need to work on the website to spend the time, but there is a simplistic website provided by the program that ensures that all projects have we co-finance have the same tool. It's also very easy for the program to present all the projects, and also to have all of you in one database, to have an overview on the program level. And by the way, if the project is approved, if you would be interested in some other project, it's also very easy to find, because it's the program, it will be the program name / the project acronym, and you are there, can easily access information about each project we are co-financing. We were talking, Petra, you were talking about the social media channels, and I think there is one important additional information to pass, that the projects have two choices: to create the social media channels indeed specifically for the project, or to use the institutional social media channels. The encouragement to use social media to promote the projects comes from the EU regulation. In this programming period, indeed, the Commission encourages that social media would be used. But on the program level, indeed, there is no obligation, and it's your choice to decide which social media channels to use, because we believe as the program that you know the best what suits you, what suits your project, and also in relation to your project idea, do you need to create something specific for the project, or maybe you would just choose to publish information on the institutional website. It's up to you, and we trust that you know this the best, what works best for you. So I propose now that we will take two more questions about the role of the lead partner in relation to communication, and then we will be watching the second video. So Livia is asking us, can a partner who is not the lead partner be responsible for project communication?
So thank you, Livia, for the question. The simple answer is yes. It's really a decision of the partnership to see whether there are resources, whether there are capacities to do a project communication, the coordination of the project communication by one partner. Sometimes we see projects when lead partner takes care of all of it, but in many cases, it is a different project partner responsible for the overall coordination of communication. So it doesn't have to be a lead partner, it can be any other partner, or you can even decide to hire an external expert to do your communication. But we like to know and see that it's one of the partners kind of keeping the skills and the knowledge in the institutions. But yes.
Yeah. Another question related to what you were talking now, is it possible that only one of the partners will be dedicated as communication manager for the whole project?
Well, this is a very similar question. So I would say yes, but of course, this is a communication manager, which doesn't exclude the contribution of all the other partners. But yes, the communication needs to be coordinated by someone. But as I was saying in the video, it's very good to decide at the start who will be responsible for which communication activities. It's very important to see clear responsibility for the individual activities that you plan on the communication side. So yes, one partner could be the manager, but many other partners, we hope, will contribute to the different activities and be clearly responsible for them. And then the manager will be just coordinating the whole strategy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Petra. Now, I think it's the time to watch our second video about the principles, and immediately after, we are again back in the studio and we will continue to answer the questions live.
Hello. In this video, I will be talking about the communication principles in Interreg Europe. There are 3 key principles in our program that you, as a project, have to respect in your communication. The first principle is harmonization. Your project communication has to be harmonized with the look and content of the program. Our program is a part of a bigger family of Interreg programs. Based on that, we have developed a brand, a logo that represents and fits into this family of Interreg programs. If your project will be co-financed by Interreg Europe, it will have to have a similar look, well recognizable by all the others. It means you will have to have a harmonized look. For this, our program will develop your main project visual. It will be composed of the program logo plus your acronym in a colorful field representing one of the topics. You can see an example here. So what will you need for this main project visual? We will need a project acronym no longer than 18 characters. Please avoid any special characters. With your acronym, we in the program will prepare not only the main project visual, but many other templates that will help you prepare your project communication tools. You will get this toolkit shortly after approval. What you have to know already now is that you have to use this visual and reference to the funding by European Union at all communication material, either used for the public or for participants at your activities. The second principle of Interreg Europe is integration. We want all projects have their space within our program. How do we do it? Our program website hosts all project websites and makes them accessible to all. You can see an example here of some cards that represent projects that were approved by the previous program. Your project, if it is approved, will also get a website from us, which will be hosted on the program website. It will be a standard website with the basic parts like the homepage, news and events, or contacts. This website will also be linked to the monitoring system to our portal. On your website, We expect you to present many images from your project activities. This will be the place where you will show your project videos and presentations. The third principle is sustainability. We expect our projects to be sustainable and think twice before producing or printing or procuring material that is not necessary for their communication. So, for example, when you are thinking about communication material, consider whether you need to print it or whether a digital form is good enough. When you are procuring expertise, think about including sustainability criteria in your procurement documents. Plan to use existing material in your institutions. There is no point of using pens or notepads that are with a logo when your institution already has it and you have a budget for acquiring it. In fact, using any tools like pens or notepads just with a logo are not eligible in our program. When you plan events, think whether you really need to do it in person or an online format might be more reasonable. So to summarize, think about your project communication as harmonized, integrated, and sustainable.
So Petra in the video covered principles we apply in communication, and we also ask our projects to apply. I hope that you got the message that as now you are thinking about your project application, you also need to choose the project acronym. And as Petra explained in the video, it's very important that you think about a nice project acronym that should not be too long, should not have a specific characters, because the acronym will be part of your main project visual. It will be also part of your future project website. That's why it's important. It's very easy and not complex. So pay attention to that at this stage when you are preparing your project application. We also talked about the main project visual, and we would like to ask you a question, a very simple question. If project has to design their own logo, and there are two answers, yes or no. So you can choose the answer you think if you need to design their own logo or not. Yeah, we can see the answers are coming, and you could see in the video that that indeed depending on the project topic you would choose, you will also have a specific color from our corporate identity. So you will either be green, orange, red, or blue. It really depends on the topic, and we have a harmonized approach for that. Let's have a look now to the results. Does a project have to design their own logo? 22% say yes, 78% say no. What is correct answer, Petra?
The correct answer is no, because we will do it for you. As Irma said, you can see behind me actually the colors that are connected to the different topics. So if your projects will be, for example, in the field of green, you will have the light green that is right behind me. If it's more smart, so some research and innovation topics, smart regional strategies or SME competitiveness, it'll be the dark green. So you see all those different colors right behind me, and your logo or your main visual with the acronym in it will have that look.
Petra, thank you for explaining that. I could also see there are many likes and hearts on the screen while you were talking about it, because it's true, it's simple, it's simplification. Again, it's an advantage for all our project partners that they need did not need to spend time on the discussions and trying to find the best indeed logo possible. All this is provided by the program, ensuring that regulation, like rule set in the regulation in terms of communication are respected. Now, let's have a look to the questions. We can see several questions from Francesco, and who is asking us, how can I choose the language for external communication? I would use English, but not everybody knows it in Europe. So do you have any advice for that?
Thank you, Francesco, for this question. It is a very important question. The official language of our program is English. And we would expect all projects to keep the website news content in English. We also understand that your partnerships are really covering regions from all over Europe, which not necessarily all speak or are fully fluent in English. For that reason, we would encourage you to think about, for example, if you're producing a video, and we will ask you to do too, that the main language of this video is English, and you think about adding subtitles. Or if you have a specific video and specific content from a specific region in that language, always think about adding subtitles in English so that we on the program side can always use it and make it available to others. Because in the end, we expect that all our community speaks at least English, and we try to keep the communication materials in that language. But translation's always possible. And think about maybe adding a little bit to the budget, either for the subtitling or for translating some pieces of the key information and key communication materials you have.
Petra, another question from Francesco. How can I set the frequency of publication of contents on the communication channels? How can I choose the best kind of content? Video, text, images, interactive, web pages. Is it the program that really advises on this, or maybe it's for the project to see how it should be done? Do you have, again, any advice on this?
Again, a very important question. Thank you. Well, I think that this question or this is dependent on the project that you're working on and on the objectives that you set for the project, and then how the communication is supposed to help to reach the project's objectives. Your project is mainly about reaching the policy changes, about improving the different policy instruments you're working on. Then it has to be really a discussion within your partnership. What is the best frequency you think for informing the different stakeholders, the different target groups that you set together? Also, what is your capacity to do this? How much staff you have available to, for example, prepare the different videos, to do the different social media posts. So I think it's always a compromise, finding some kind of a balance where the main activity of your project stays on the exchange of experience, learning, and improving policies, and on the communicating for them and about them. So we on the program side certainly do not impose any specific frequency apart from publishing or updating something on your website at least once in 6 months, which I think is a very, very easy condition to meet for all projects and for all partners. But then when it comes to the actual frequency on your side, it's really a decision of the partner who will be responsible for communication in cooperation with the other project partners, because they will be contributing. And if they tell you that they will be busy with many other things, you need to pick the most important, the most needed, the most effective activities that will contribute to your project's success.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if I can, one more point. Of course, having anything visual is what works. We've learned in the past years that having an image, having a video might speak 1,000 words than just something written. But again, it depends on the target group. Your policymaker, their civil servants might be much more happier to get a very clear policy brief with bullet points about the lessons learned, about some of the resources they can use for their policy work. So it really depends on each project, on the topic, on the objective you want to reach with your communication to support your project.
Petra, Diane is asking us, as the website is provided by the program, will we be able to publish news about the project on it?
Yes, of course. What we provide on the program side is really the basic structure, the basic framework. We will, again, to simplify your life, pre-fill some parts from the application. For that reason, it is really important that you check that, for example, in the title of your project, you don't have typos, that the acronym, as Irma already mentioned, makes some sense, doesn't contain any special characters, respects the character limits that we set for you. But once we develop this website for you, we will show you how to edit it. And from that point on, it will be all in your hands, and you will have to fill it in with the learnings, with the information about your project.
There is a question about the initial and the final videos. They should be in English, or can they be translated with the budget of the project, and what must be the length of those videos?
I don't think we have any musts in our program, but we do suggest not to make the videos very long because we know that on the communication side, people's attention is usually not very long. So having videos around 1.5 minutes, maximum really 2-3 minutes is the limit. And then when it comes to the language, ideally, this video will be in English and then subtitled in all the languages of your partners, because this video is mainly the tool for you. We as a program want it because we can use it and promote your project also in other places, in other events, for example. But the main tool that it is for you, that you can use it as an information tool, as a communication tool with your target groups in the different regions. So we understand that there needs to be other language versions, but instead of having the same video dubbed in several languages, we would suggest that the main language is English, and then you subtitle for all the other versions, for all the other language versions, which would be probably a more cost-efficient way of doing it.
Another question, indeed 2 questions in relation to the acronyms. First, we don't build the logo, but we build the acronym. Is it right?
Yes, that is right. And as Irma was talking about the logo and how it will look, and that you don't have to spend time on arguing about actually designing the logo, in my head, I was thinking, well, yes, but there still will be probably a lot of discussion about the acronym. And this is fully in your hands. Think about it, how to fit within the characters, how to make it somehow meaningful to the outside audiences, outside of your projects. We get plenty of logos which are full of numbers, full of abbreviations, which maybe in your communities, in the specific topics you work on, is fully understandable, and then we are perfectly fine with it. And for your communication needs, it might work really well. But think about it, whether really the target groups, when they see your logo, when they see the acronym, that it has a meaning for them. So think about it, give it really a deep thought, discuss it with your project partners, suggest several maybe versions, maybe make a little voting among yourself. Also, have a look at the acronyms of the previous projects funded by our program, because we will not allow you to have the same acronym as any acronym that we have already used before. So certainly have a look at the list of projects approved in the first call, so that you don't repeat yourself. And mainly avoid any special characters. So any any dots, anything that would interfere with a URL on the website. So ideally keep just to normal letters here and there. If you want to use a number, go for it. But yes, this is fully in your hands, and spend some time on it, give some thinking into it so that it's meaningful and you like it. You'll be using it for 4 years and maybe longer.
Indeed, Petra, as you were mentioning that you invite everyone to check what are the acronyms of the first project, and I can also see there is a question asking us to give an example of an acronym. I opened up the list of our first call approved projects and will read some of the acronyms. So it's BioWind, CARES, Cherry. I go down, I won't read all. Feel, Gift, GoCore, Impetus, Interwaste, Karma, Lottie. As you can see, Near, Not, Origin, Plastics with X, Promoter, Rural Youth Future. What else we have? Tibo, Turbo, Unlock, Urban Coop. So as you see, the acronyms are rather simple, short, and when it's possible, it's also nice that, I mean, already reading from the acronym, you get a little bit inside what is the project about. And again, advice from our side would be rather go for more simple acronym than complex. It's better to be short. It's also good to avoid, I mean, okay, any special symbols, it's not possible to include them, but it's better to be, yes, simple. And also think that once the project website will be developed, indeed, in case you have 2 words, they both will be merged into one. So I go now with this, you have an idea of what are the acronyms. And again, you can, if you want to have a closer look, I mean, all this information is available on our website. Now, Petra, let's go to the next question, which is about disclaimer on videos and publications. The video must state that it only reflects the author's view and that the program authorities are not reliable for any use that may be made of the information contained. Is it still compulsory in this programming period, and which part of the program manual should we refer to then?
Well, thank you for this question. This disclaimer part is not really covered in the program manual, but it is in the subsidy contract, where it is the lead partner signing on to taking the responsibility for all these outputs and materials that you'll be producing for communication. So yes, if any kind of communication material, like a bigger communication material, like a publication, for example, will be made available, please remember to include a short disclaimer about it. That's all.
Yes. Okay. A short question. Let's take the last one before we watch the next video. Is it mandatory to publish at least 2 videos during the project?
Yes. Short question, short answer. Yes.
Good. With this short question and short answer, let's watch now the third and the last video about the project, I mean, activities that you need to plan in terms of communication. And after that, we will be back in the studio for the last round to answer your questions.
Hello. In this video, I will tell you about the communication activities you have to include in your planning. First, we have a number of set required activities for each project. We already talked about the main project visual. That means the program logo plus your acronym. Please remember to use it on all communication material that you'll be producing and using in your communication activities. Another activity is the poster presenting your project. We at the Joint Secretariat will design it for you, but you have to think and plan to edit it if necessary, print it and provide it to all your project partners to make it visible in their institutions. Another required activity, in case you plan a pilot with physical installation, is installment of a plug. It's a little bit similar to the poster, but it's bigger, and you will have to put it in the site of this pilot. Again, we in the program at the Joint Secretariat will design it for you, but you will have to plan the production and installation. Another required activity is publication of information about the project on your own institutional websites and social media, if they exist. So please prepare a short project description with your aims and results and the EU financial support, and you will have to publish it on your institutional website. You will have to plan some staff time for updating the project website. You don't have to design it. We will prepare it for you, but all the updates that you will put on that website are on you. So plan all these activities, the content creation for your website in your budget. Please remember that all the videos, all the images and all the publications that you put on the website have to be free to use by our Joint Secretariat as well as the European Commission. And the final required activity is organization of a final dissemination event. It should be a high visibility event with VIPs, with the policymakers that you manage to engage throughout the lifetime of your project, where you will present your achievements. So remember to plan all these required activities in your strategy. Another set of activities that you have to think about are recommended. Our program has many activities over those 7 years that the program exists. We have annual events. Our policy learning platform plans many thematic workshops and webinars and other activities. European institutions organize events like EU Regions Week, or our partner states plan information days where they inform about the calls or disseminate results. Very often we invite you as projects to present your experience and your results. So please include up to 10 events of this kind in your communication planning. And remember, sign up to our online community so that you can easily join our events. The final set of activities that you need to include are support activities. We at the program try to help you as much as possible with your project implementation. We organize various webinars and workshops for you. There you can meet with the other projects and exchange experience with them on the management, on finances, on communication, on the exchange of experience processes that you are using in your projects. For that, we very often invite 2 or 3 representatives of your project, and it could be a lead partner, project partner, your finance manager, or communication manager. So please count with this kind of support activities again in your communication planning. And the most important, don't only plan it, but include it in your budget.
So now, after watching this third video, you know what activities you need to think and to include in the application form and what you need indeed to budget. Petra, we prepared one question to our webinar participants. As in the video, you were talking that there will be several events organized by our program. So we have a question related to that. To how many program or other EU events should you plan to contribute? And there are 3 answers. Up to 10 events over the project lifetime, maximum 5 events, none. Yes, we can see that our participants are very active to choose one of the three answers we propose, either to say that they would contribute up to 10 events or maximum 5 events or none. I think we are ready now to check what results we got. And we can see that 7% say they should not contribute to any of them. 15 say that it should be maximum 5, and 78% say they should contribute up to 10 events over the project's lifetime. So which answer is correct?
Well, I'm again very happy first that you're so active with our polls and also that the majority of you are really following the videos very closely and listen to what we are saying. So the correct answer is up to 10 over the project's lifetime. As I said in that video, we at the program level organize various events every year where we are very happy to present you, your projects, your achievements, your results, what you work on. So we want you to plan this to kind of put you in a spotlight a little bit, give you a little bit more possibility to talk about your success. But there are also all these different trainings and seminars, similar to the webinar we are running today. So again, we want you to plan it because many of these are happening in person so that you meet other projects and can exchange your experiences with them. So it's up to 10 events over the project's lifetime.
Petra, for explaining this. We have about 20 minutes left until the end of our webinar, and I see plenty of questions, so let's have a look and answer those. Question we got related to the target group analysis. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how to implement target group analysis?
Just as in the first video, you saw that little graph with about the influence and interest. So I would suggest that you get in contact with all the potential partners that you are discussing your project idea with now. And before you submit an application, before you prepare your communication strategy, you ask them to list all the different target groups they would like to or need to talk to make your project a success. Then you combine all these lists, you will see what similarities there are, and you decide which are the key target groups across the whole project. That's how we did it also in this program, when we asked all our partner states to provide these lists, and then we combined them and decided who we need to talk to the most, who are the other groups that are very influential but need to maybe get more interested in us, and also consulting what we do with those who are very interested in what we do but maybe are not influencing everything that much. So again, a joint work with your partners.
Francesco is asking us, can we use storytelling techniques and emotional language to explain a project instead of using a colder and more serious approach? Indeed, Francesco, we are very glad to see that, to receive such questions and to see that you're talking about the storytelling techniques and plan to use this language in your project communication. Very much welcome. We always encourage, and we are always glad to see the projects that take those principles into on board. As also on the program side, it's not always possible for us to avoid our jargon completely, but at least in the program we try to use the plain language and also to talk in conveying and easy understandable way. And I hope that from today's webinar you see that we are doing that. Okay, then the next question we can take it from Livia. She asks about the final event. Should it be only one for the whole project or in each of the involved countries?
So thank you, Livia, for this question. We foresee that the final event, the final dissemination event, will take place only in one country, in one of the partner regions. Up to you to decide which one, which will be basically the celebration of your achievements, where you will invite all the key policymakers, present all the achievements that you achieved over the 4 years. So it's only one event. We hope a rather big event, an important important event with with many VIPs coming, joining the partnership in their success. So one event.
Iris is asking, is it mandatory to print the poster, or it can be also shown digital?
And now in this new program, it can also be electronical, so no need to print. If you have a TV screen in a readily visible place in your institution, it can be electronic. You will get both versions for print and for this digital display. But please remember, it has to be in every partner institution. It's not only the lead partner who has to do it, it has to be all partner institution readily visible for people coming to that to their premises. So for some maybe electronic, for others printed.
Roberto has another very relevant question related to the high quality photo of the project, because we communicated and now everyone knows that each approved project will have to indeed choose to have at least one high quality photo to represent the topic of the project. And he's asking if it can be bought, or should we use our own photo?
Thank you, Roberto, for this question. We encourage you to use as many local and your internal resources for making these pictures as possible, because buying a photo is always linked to some kind of a license. And the regulation, the e-regulation now requires that all visuals, all communication material is copyright-free, royalty-free, and accessible both to the program and the European Commission. If you buy a photo, it might be really very, very expensive to get this very complete license for it, to really use it across various channels, across various communication materials. So if you have a talented staff member or someone kind of close to any of the partner institutions who could take pictures which can represent the topic you are covering in your project, please try to rely on that. We'll be very happy to see many nice pictures made this way. So it's not impossible, and we encourage you to have your own.
Yes, as the copyrights indeed are very important, and the Commission requires that that anytime they could reuse indeed the material you have, it's very important to pay attention to that. So now a question from Yasna. He is asking, I'm having a bit of problem how to measure success of the communication strategy. Is there any table that really includes all possible instruments to measure?
So Yasna, thank you for this question. Evaluating and measuring your communication activities, their effect, their reach are very important. As there are different strategies for different projects, we do not have one table that contains all these. As I suggested in the video, there were a few possible indicators you could select in terms of, for example, participation in your different events. If you set your target groups at the very beginning, one of the questions on your participation, on your registration forms might be what kind of institution they represent, whether, for example, it is a chamber of commerce, whether it is an NGO working on environmental topics. And that way you can check whether you're actually reaching your target groups, whether they are coming to some of the events that you are organizing. So it depends on each project, on the topic you cover, and we really give you a lot of freedom to select how to measure the success of your communication activities. We'll be then later on running some other support webinars if your project is approved on doing this. On actually implementing some of the evaluations. So we can help you if needed, but there is no one table that contains all these different tools and all these different indicators that might be of interest to you. By the way, our program now doesn't have any obligatory indicators on communication, because we see that the communication approaches could differ, and we try to make your life simpler.
Another question we have, how important is to reach out to EU institutions?
Well, it really depends, again, on the project topic that you're covering and the policy instruments you're working on. Your primary objective should be to reach your project objectives. You want to make your project a success. If your project success depends on improving policies which are at local level, municipal level, regional level, even national level, focus your resources there. If you are successful, we will take care on communicating your success to the EU level. So if you want to address some EU level or strategies linked to some EU strategies, then maybe consider it. But I think the main focus should be on your project success, and only then on anything linked to institutions, unless they are somehow directly related to what you're working on.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about the events, and there is a question asking us, when we speak about events, do we mean the events that each project will propose, or events promoted, organized by the Interreg Europe?
Here, I have to admit, I'm not 100% sure I understand the question. So I'll try to kind of explain how I see it.
I think, Petra, the question is because we were referring, we had the poll question talking about how many events should be planned. So the question here is, did we mean the events that projects need to propose in the application form, like there's another question like study visits, or it really, we talk about those 10 events that are participation in Interreg Europe events. So what we referred.
Okay. So if that's the way this question stands, then yes, those are events organized by Interreg Europe. So it is the program events, the various program events that you need to count in and put in your planning and in your budget.
Okay, I can see there is one question related to the practical use of the logo, explaining some difficulties and asking for an advice or to confirm if it's done in the right way. This project, I'm sure it comes from someone who has already an approved project, and from the description, it looks that what you did is correct, but I advise, in case you have doubts and you need additional support, each approved project in our secretariat has policy officer, finance officer, and communication officer that supports your project. So I would advise, in case you doubt or you need further advice, then to contact us directly, and we will be able then to check and give you a precise advice. Now, the next question we have on the list, we already answered about those planning of 10 events, and we told that those are the events organized by the Interreg Europe program. So we can go to the next question. If planning to use the newsletter as one of the ways to reach out to our target groups and the stakeholders, how to start finding people who should subscribe, sending emails with information about the project and the newsletter, etc.
Well, thank you for this question. I would first maybe say that we as a program do not provide you with a specific newsletter engine that will generate it and send it. So you can, with your partners, decide on the tool you want to use. Then when it comes to finding the target audience, finding the people, on our website, we will give you a possibility for a sign up to whichever newsletter tool you decide to use. So your project website will be one of the entry points for signing up. But I would also encourage you to use some of your internal institutional channels. Your institutions probably have some mailing lists, and what is important, each project partner must publish on their institutional website information about the project. So maybe that might also be the place where you can add a little sign up for our newsletter button. And this way, people who come to your institutional website and read about your project can decide, oh, this is interesting. I would like to follow. I would like to get updates about this project. And you can get your list of subscribers that way. So use your local institutional channels, use the institutional website with the information about the project, use your project website, and I'm sure that over time, and of course the social media, if you decide to use them, to build up your newsletter subscribers to inform them about your project.
But again, Petra, here, that's not an obligation from the program to have a newsletter. And if at this stage you don't know to whom it should go, who should subscribe, then the question is, do you really need it? You should plan the newsletter dedicated to the project only when you are sure that it's needed and you will have the audience, and you need really to assess to whom it would go, how many people will read. And exactly as Petra was saying, if you say that it's too big effort, maybe then just better to use the other existing channels. But it's up to you to decide. Okay, we can go to our next question now. Is it requirement of the program to suggest evaluation measures of the communication strategy at the application form?
Yes, it is. It is the fourth section when you are describing the approach to your communication. There, rather briefly, you need to describe how you plan to implement your communication strategy as something that you share with the project partners, whether you're planning to maybe hire some external support. So it's about the implementation. And the other part is about how you plan to evaluate that you're reaching your objectives. And there you might list maybe a few ideas how you will be following maybe whether target groups are participating in the different activities, whether they are being reached. So very brief, just a general outline, but it is part of the application.
Okay, a few more minutes left, so let's answer shortly the remaining questions. Petra, could you explain the difference between the event to policy learning event?
It's the purpose. The policy learning event is really when you meet with your project partners and some of the stakeholders when you are discussing, for example, the different good practices from which you want to learn and that you want to transfer to the different regions. Whereas a communication event is really talking about, okay, we are planning to bring in the region this practice, and you as I don't know, young entrepreneurs, would you be interested in it? What do you think about it? Would you apply for something similar? So it's really the purpose that makes difference between a communication event and a policy learning.
Petra, a last question, and then I will tell to everyone when the recorded webinars are published. I'll try to reformulate this question because it's not very clear, but I think the person means that tries to ask us, we were talking about those 10 events, and the person is wondering, do we mean that all those events will be organized in physical environment, or some might be organized online? For example, the events related to the policy learning platform.
Just as we encourage you to always think about an event either physical or online, we do the same thing. So some of the project events that we have, some of the events that we have for you, meaning in terms of support, in terms of thematic exchange and policy learning, or the annual events of our program. Some of them are physical, some of them are online. We still would like to plan that you will participate in some of them. Mainly there are costs and budget considerations for the physical events. For example, I can say that in September, for those projects who were approved in the first call, we'll have a physical event with us. So they need to travel, come here and appreciate and enjoy kind of the exchanges with the other project partners. So this is something that should be in their budgeting, that should be in their planning, so that they can take part and join us in such an event.
Thank you Thank you very much, Petra, for answering the questions live. I also want to thank you to other colleagues, Mia, Julie, Josephine, who were behind the scenes answering questions in the chat. Also, our colleagues from the other teams, Kristaps from the policy and project team, and Ilaria from the finance team, who were also answering your questions. Thank you very much to all the active participants. I can see many applause. I see the comment written in the chat by MS. Thank you for these webinars. They are very, very useful and professional. Petra also thanks to us. You can see now a small pop-up on your screens where we ask to give us feedback on the webinars we were running. So do not hesitate to answer to those simple questions, because it really helps to us a lot to see what improvements we can do. For sure, now for the second call, lead applicant webinars, like the sessions they are closed, and but there might be a third call, and we might rerun those webinars. So all your input is very, very, very useful. Now, what to keep in mind here on the screen now, you can see the project development online tools. It's the summary of all support we are providing to you during the call. It's really the section where you need to go if you are preparing your project application, and you can still use the opportunity to ask for feedback. Let me highlight this because a few weeks left until the closure of the call, and if you want a detailed feedback on your project idea, this you can do via our website. Again, for your project, preparing your project application, Get Inspired section might be useful, where you will see the approved projects and also the acronyms, and the section Apply for the Call, where you will find all the links to the terms of reference of the call, the program manual, the document we really recommend to read carefully before submitting the project application, and also you will find a link to the portal, our environment where you need to prepare and fill in your project application. This week we were running webinars on partnership methodology, finances, communication. All recordings will be published on our website next week. If you are attending our webinar today, you subscribed and you were participating, we will send you a short thank you message, and you will receive also a link, a direct link on which section you need to go on our website to watch all the recordings. And as mentioned also before, we also have a separate videos published and the presentation, so all the content is available and will be available for you. Now, if you still have questions, because our week is over, what else is coming from us to assist you during the call? We have an upcoming online question and answer sessions on the 5th of May, 17th of May, and 2nd of June. And it's very easy. You register to those. If you have questions, you can register to one of the upcoming Q&A sessions. Via the registration form, you send your question, and our colleagues will be live in the studio to answer all your questions. To support you, also we have a specific form on our website where you can also submit the questions in written, and then we also get back to you. So this you can also use, and it might be also interesting for you that we publish on our website the frequently asked questions. So again, if you go to the specific section, you can find the answers we give to the most common questions we receive. With this line, I would like to thank you once more to all the speakers of today, to everyone who was involved to organize this webinar, to everyone who answered the questions, to all the very, very active participants. I would like to wish you a good end of this week. I hope you got inspiration, you got practical tips from us, you feel stronger, and you know on what specific points you need to work to finalize your project application. And we really hope to receive many nice project applications on the 9th of June so that we can afterwards work and assess and then to meet afterwards with the ones that will be successful. So good luck preparing your project application and submitting it during the second call of proposals. Bye-bye.